Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Generative Fill feature in Photoshop and how you can incorporate that into your After Effects workflow. Generative Fill is a new artificial intelligence feature that was added to the beta release of Photoshop. It is a series of AI-powered capabilities that let you add, extend, and remove content from images or create them from scratch. Think of it as your own personal Midjourney or DALL-E. To get access to this feature, you'll need to install the beta version of Photoshop by opening your Creative Cloud app and clicking the Beta Apps button. Once it's finished installing, you can give it a whirl. Let's take a look at how we can use Generative Fill combined with After Effects to enhance our VFX workflow. We'll start off in After Effects with a stock clip that we want to modify using Generative Fill. We have this nice aerial view of an island, but it would look pretty cool if we had like an old stone fort situated in the forest here. Let's start by finding a good frame that we can export to Photoshop. I think about 6 seconds in would work. So we're going to export this frame so we can work with it in the beta version of Photoshop. We're going to go up to Composition, Save Frame As, File. That's going to open up our render queue where we can save our image. And we're just going to click Save and Render. And that saves out a frame. Now we can open up our Photoshop and go to Open and navigate to where we just saved that image. And we called it Generative Fill Island, and we're going to open that. Now that we have this open in Photoshop, we can take a look at how we can use Generative Fill. So we're going to take our lasso tool here, and we're going to put that stone fort right around here. So we're going to select a good amount of the island here, and we're going to click Generative Fill. And Generative Fill works by typing a prompt of something that you want to generate on your image. So we're going to try Old Stone Fort. And we're just going to click Generate. And Generative Fill starts by giving us a couple different options. This first one looks pretty cool, but let's take a look at what the other ones are. This looks a little too large and out of perspective for what we want. And this actually looks pretty nice too, so I think we're going to go with this one. And what Generative Fill does, it gives you the AI generated image on its own layer. And if we zoom in close here, we can see that it's kind of feathered out a little bit, but what I like to do is go into the mask tool here and take a really large soft brush and then just feather out the edges a little bit more. And this will help it blend just a little bit better with our footage. And we're just going to label our layer Stone Fort, and we're going to save this as a PSD. So we're going to go up to Save As, save it in our original folder that we had our Generative Fill Island in, and we're just going to click Save. Now we can hop back over to After Effects, go to File, Import, File, and we're going to navigate to where we saved that, Generative Fill Island Modified. And it's very important at this stage to import as composition, retain layer sizes. And that's going to make sure that when we drop our new generated image onto our footage, it maintains the same aspect ratio and properties. We're just going to click Open and OK. And we're going to open up this composition. And we're going to select our stone fort layer, and we're going to copy with Command or Control C, and we're going to paste it on our island layer. And that looks pretty good placed right in there. And we're just going to drop a marker so I know what frame I took that off of. But when you go back and forth, it obviously falls out of place. So we're going to select our island layer and we're going to 3D track this footage. We're going to be using our tracker panel over here. I'll move it up here so you can see it a little bit better. If you don't see this panel in your After Effects interface, go up to Window and go down to Tracker. So we're going to select our footage layer and we're going up to Track Camera. And we're going to twirl down the advanced options and click Detailed Analysis. And that's going to ensure that we have a lot more detail and points to work with when we're tracking this. And we're just going to let this go through and finish analyzing. Now that our 3D camera tracker is finished, we're just going to hide our stone fort layer for a minute. We're going to select our island layer, and to see all the points that were tracked, we're going to select the 3D camera tracker effect that's in our effect controls. And this gives us lots of little points of detail that are tracked throughout the shot. And what we want to try to do is find points that are pretty consistent throughout the shot, that are kind of at the beginning and end of the clip, so that we have a lot of good data to work with. And it looks like we have a decent amount in the area that we want the fort. So what we want to do is drag a big lasso around the points that we want to use for our track data. And what this does is give us a big target that shows us what is going to be our ground plane and our origin for where we're going to track our layer onto. And we're going to right click in the middle of all of this, click Set Ground Plane and Origin, and then we're going to right click again and click Create Null and Camera. And what this does is gives us a null object that tracks right to the area where we want to insert our stone fort. So we're going to go back to our marker that we created earlier, turn on our stone fort, and we're going to click this toggle switch to turn it into a 3D layer. And it kind of flies off the edge over here. And we're going to parent this to our track null. We're going to press P on the keyboard to open up our position properties, and we're going to zero these out. And that puts it right back where we want it, parented to this null here. And we're going to press R on our keyboard, and we're going to zero out our rotation as well. And that sticks it right to the track point, pointing towards the camera. And we're going to take our Stone Island footage, we're just going to extend it to the end of the scene. And we're going to press Shift / on our keyboard, and that's going to expand our footage to the full canvas. And now we can play this, and we see that our generative fill layer is perfectly tracked to the island. If you found this video useful and you want to see more like it, feel free to like and subscribe down below. Or if you have any questions about how to better use this type of technology in your workflow, feel free to leave a comment down below.